2020, something didn't add up. When fear replaced common sense and critical thinking, and protocols stopped matching what we were seeing, a lot of us started asking questions. And once you start digging, once you start researching, you can't unsee it. Welcome to Nurses Out Loud. I'm Jody O'Malley, ER nurse and nursing ethics educator. And this is where we talk truth, patient rights, and real-world healthcare so you can make informed decisions and advocate with confidence. If you've been looking for your people, here we are. If this resonates, if you find yourself nodding along, please like, follow, and share this show with at least one person who needs it. And if this episode offers continuing education credit, check the show notes for learning objectives, disclosures, and exactly how to earn your certificate. This episode of Nurses Out Loud is sponsored by West Cocoa Pharmacy in Cocoa, Florida. If you've been looking for a pharmacy that thinks outside the one-size-fits-all box, West Cocoa Pharmacy partners with licensed prescribers to create individualized prescription-only compounded medications. That includes ivermectin, benbendazole, fenbendazole, and other repurposed drugs, alike low-dose naltrexone, methylene blue, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, custom erectile dysfunction combinations for men, and carefully selected supplements. They also support integrative oncology care, offering compounded medications that some physicians use in alternative cancer protocols. One of my favorite parts is their free consult with Nurse Donna. She's there to provide education on evolving repurposed therapies and HRT, so you can ask better questions and have a more informed conversation with your own clinician. As always, this is not medical advice. I'm not telling you what to take. I'm pointing you to resources. Any medication or protocol should be decided between you and a licensed provider who knows your history. To learn more, visit Cocoa Pharmacy, COCOA Pharmacy.com. That's Cocoa Pharmacy, COCOA Pharmacy.com, and let them know you heard about them on Nurses Out Loud. Hello, friends. I'm Jody O'Malley coming to you from Israel. Today, I'm joined by someone who is literally living the headlines you're seeing on the news. His name is Yair Pinto. He's a former IDF tank commander and now correspondent and host of TBN Israel, where he leads the show Boots on the Ground, bringing real-time updates from the front lines so believers around the world can pray with understanding. There's so much confusion, so much propaganda, and so much pain wrapped up in what's happening between Israel, Gaza, and the surrounding nations. My heart as a nurse and whistleblower is to get past the noise and hear from people who are actually here, walking this out in real time. So today we're going to talk about a few things. What life is really like on the ground in Israel, what happened on October 7th at the Nova Festival, how Jews and Palestinians actually live together inside Israel, and the genocide narrative and what's missing from that conversation. Finally, we're going to hear Yair's own story of serving in the IDF and following Yeshua in the middle of the war. Yair, thank you for being here with me today.
Great to be here. Thank you for coming to Israel.
Yes, it's been an amazing trip. I'm really happy that I see what it's like with my own two eyes. You know?
Yeah, it's the best thing. I mean, there's nothing beats coming here and then experiencing the land, the people, the mixture of cultures.
Right.
And then when you go back, you look at the news and you have an understanding of what really is happening on the ground here, which I think is something that's lacking when you just turn on your TV and you get like a 1-minute explanation of what's happening in Israel, of the conflict, and then you're supposed to form your opinion based on that 1 minute.
Exactly. I mean, a perfect example is, guys, right here behind me, this is not a prop. This is actually Jerusalem.
Yeah.
Right behind us, okay? And when I first got here 10 days ago, I looked out and they were pointing out how there's Palestinian territory, Jewish territory. I mean, they've been living together, and we're going to get into that today. But first, you're not just reporting the story, right? You are an independent journalist that we'll talk about. Were you always wanting to be a journalist? Is that what?
So no, it kind of fell on me, I would say, together with this war. So I was working with TBN Israel for 4 months before the October 7th war started. And at that moment, I was called to fight in the Gaza Strip as an IDF officer. So in Israel, I need to explain the basics, but in Israel, men and women serve in the IDF, in the Israeli Defensive Forces. Everybody. It's mandatory when they turn 18. So immediately after high school, you have military service. And after that, if you want to go to college, you go to college and to other places. So I went to the IDF, spent close to 5 years, was an officer with the tank division in the IDF. And then you are part of the IDF's reserve forces until you are 45 years old. So the majority of Israel's armies is made up of people that have jobs, have families, but they leave everything when they get the order and they go and defend the country. So this is exactly what happened on October 7th. I got the call from my commander saying, we need you, we're under attack. It's not like a surprise because rockets were flying all over the place and Hamas terrorists kidnapped men, women, children, and the elderly into the Gaza Strip. And we went to fight to protect our families and also to get those that were kidnapped back. Fast forward 2 years later, we got everybody that was alive back. We're still waiting for the remains of one hostage that was murdered in captivity by Hamas. So, forgot the question now, but I think that this is the situation for myself. And then I started realizing on the first days of this war that the world does not understand what actually is happening here. And I have a phone. I can record myself from the front lines and share the truth of what's happening. In the beginning, it was my personal experiences, leaving my family, leaving my 3 months-old baby, going to defend the country against these terrorists that want to kill us. And then it went on to sharing the truth of what's happening from a broader perspective. And then more people joined my team, more viewers, and it became really viral. And then we created the Boots on the Ground daily news report, and it's airing also on TBN in the United States and all over the world. And it's grown since then. And our goal, my vision, is to share the truth of what's happening in Israel so that people will know how to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. So this is what we're doing. We live here. We are part of this nation. And I believe that praying for the situation is kind of the best thing to do in order to tackle all these challenges, because this is a spiritual war.
100%.
Yeah. So the only way to fight a spiritual war that I know of is to pray and ask God to help us out,
Yes, absolutely. Now, were you born and raised here?
I was born and raised. I was raised about 10 minutes away from this location where we're sitting now. I have a brother, and now I got married when I was 24. 3 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're excellent behind the camera. I think, you're very authentic and real with people. And that really comes across on camera. So in a recent update, you said that the attacks are still happening.
Yeah.
What does that look like in real life for Israeli families right now? Are we talking rockets, drones, terror? What are you seeing and hearing? Because in America, we thought there's a ceasefire.
All right. Yeah. So there is a ceasefire, but it's not a complete ceasefire, never. So Hamas terrorists are still carrying out terrorist attacks against the IDF forces on the border inside Gaza. Okay, so Our troops are still inside Gaza on the yellow line. This is according to the ceasefire agreement. There are positions that the IDF is maintaining to make sure that Hamas terrorists will not infiltrate Israel again.
Mm-hmm.
So in these positions, the Hamas terrorists are sending children and teenagers to these positions to test the IDF's response. And then after that, they also send platoons or like a number of terror squads to carry out attacks against our forces. If it's through an underground tunnel or just by foot through the rubbles of the Gaza Strip. So that is happening in the Gaza Strip. But in Judea and Samaria, which is basically the other side of this hill,
Okay.
Hamas is trying to incite the Palestinian population to carry out terrorist attacks against Israelis. And almost every week, we have terrorist attacks and attempts against Israelis by Palestinians ramming their vehicles at Israelis walking the streets and then exiting the vehicle with knives and trying to stab the security forces or also just random civilians next to the roads. This is happening almost every week, but you don't feel it or see it because you've been here. You haven't seen anything like that. For you, it's just like a, peaceful tourism and everything goes like a normal day shopping and everything that tourists do. But in real life, there are like multiple security forces with the special intelligence units that are preventing these attacks from happening. But sometimes they are not able to make it happen. My daughter just entered the room.
Oh, she did.
We're gonna go to a pizza place soon.
Soon.
We're gonna go to a pizza place.
כן, אוקיי. אז תחכי בחוץ, ואז נלך לאכול פיצה?
כן.
אוקיי, אז תחכי, אבל אני צריכה עכשיו להיות בשקט. ציירו אותה לכוס. אוקיי, תסגרי את הדלת.
You take us this in the car.
Okay. So, guys, I think you understood that. That was like my daughter asking for pizza.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
pizza is also pizza in Hebrew. The same word.
Okay, let's talk about that a little bit because Americans, they think it's Palestinian versus Israeli, okay, versus Jew. And it's not so much really. I mean, you have lived amongst Palestinians your whole life.
So it needs to be explained, okay? Israel, as a nation, has Jews, has Arabs.
Mhm.
Some of them are Muslims, some of them are Christians. And then we have also non-Jews Christians or non-Jews people that live here and they are Israelis, but they are not Jews or Christians. So we have all kinds of people like the United States of America.
Yeah.
So within Israel, all the citizens receive equal rights. You have Arab and Muslim judges. You have Arab and Muslim doctors. You have Arabs and Muslims in the IDF. I had officers with me in officer course that are Muslims in the Israeli Defensive Forces.
Mhm.
So everybody gets the same equal rights within Israel. And then you have the Gaza Strip, for example, which is not part of Israel. It's run by the Hamas terrorist organization. The Palestinian people voted for this terrorist organization to lead them. And since then, all they've been doing is carrying out and planning terrorist attacks against Israel. This is the war that we are facing now.
So Gaza is really Palestine.
There is no Palestine. Let's start with that.
Okay.
There is no official land called Palestine. And you can also ask, when was it established? Who's the leader of Palestine? I mean, ask these random questions and you get the answer, which, no, there is no Palestine.
So
okay, maybe there will be, but at the moment, there is no Palestinian nation. You have Hamas, a terrorist organization, leading the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip, okay? Which hopefully will be dismantled and we find them a better government together with the United States of America as part of the ceasefire agreement. This is plan B of the ceasefire agreement. Finding a different leadership for the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. Someone who's not a terrorist organization that wants to destroy Israel, the Jewish people, and the United States of America. I think it's a nice goal, also for the Palestinians. So that's to say that. in Judea and Samaria, you have the Palestinian Authority. Okay, Palestinian Authority is in charge of some of the aspects of the Palestinian people in Judea and Samaria. Okay, not Israel. So they have that also in the it's called West Bank. So this is the situation underground. The Palestinians have certain status in the United Nations, and some nations recognize the Palestinian state, but not all of them, and not the United States of America.
Okay.
So this is one of the conditions for having I don't know how to call it, like maybe a two-state solution or other stuff that are not feasible. People tried it for many years, never happened.
But it almost feels like there's already a two-state solution
How
here.
does it feel like? You've been here.
Or one-state solution, I guess it is, with the Palestinians and the Jews and everybody living amongst each other.
Oh, yeah. In Israel.
Like, because
No, let me explain.
Yeah.
In Israel,
Okay.
Muslims and Jews live together. Jews and Christians live together. Freedom of rights, freedom to worship whatever God they want. Only in Israel. This doesn't happen in the Gaza Strip. Since Israel left the Gaza Strip, there is not a single Jew in Gaza. There were 250 Jews, but they were hostages in tunnels underneath the Gaza Strip. So the only place that gives freedom of worship, freedom to worship whatever God, whatever religion you want in the Middle East is Israel. Period. That's it. When you walk here, you see the liberties that Israel is giving everybody in this land. Palestinian people do not give that to anybody else, not to Christians or not to Jews, specifically not to Jews.
Specifically, yes. Now, when you say Judea and Samaria, how far is that from here?
10 minutes.
Okay, see, now Americans, we look at it as it's another country, but it's not. It's like cities like Brooklyn, Manhattan, you know what I mean? And so that's also a very important perspective, is that the close proximity of these different places are very close. And okay, so I was talking with somebody yesterday, a very brilliant young man, and he was talking to me about the Gaza Strip. And he said, so there were Palestinians there, and he said in the news, it is represented as these were peaceful people that were in this strip. And he said, but that's not true. It is Hamas that is running it. And he said, and also that there's a lot of sex trafficking and violence against women that happen there. And that the reason, because I asked him, I said, well, I remember when Israel said, get everyone out because we're going to bomb it. Why didn't they leave? And he said, they can't leave because they're afraid. And I mean, if you put that into perspective, so many people say, oh, well, I would do it. Yeah, if you had a whole bunch of people, but they can't even talk amongst themselves freely to try to organize a way to get out. On top of that, he said they don't educate the children.
They do. They educate the children to hate Israel.
Wow.
They educate the children that the only future that they can have is by destroying Israel, by destroying the Jewish people, and by murdering Jews. That's what they teach them in school books, in their curriculums in the Gaza Strip. And I've been there. And in the schools, they have like plastic AK-47s and Hamas summer camps to train the kids how to pop out of tunnels and kidnap an Israeli. So this is what they teach them in the Gaza Strip. But to your point about the fact that they can't leave and stuff like that. So when the IDF entered the fight against Hamas terrorists in the Gaza Strip, Hamas placed its bases and its key operation locations underneath hospitals, underneath schools, underneath kindergartens, underneath mosques, in a very sophisticated network of tunnels connecting everything. And they used the civilians, the Palestinian people, as human shields. So when the IDF carries out an attack against the Hamas position that is coming out of a hospital, it looks like we're bombing hospitals.
Right.
But Is it Israel's fault or is it Hamas' fault?
Right.
This is the situation. And they planned it. They know that the international media will automatically jump on the opportunity to attack Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens. And what the IDF has been doing is, because the Gaza Strip is a heavily populated area, close to 2 million people. We don't have the exact numbers, but close to 2 million people. And when the IDF conducted its operation, it notified a certain neighborhood. Hamas is operating here. Please move to a safe zone that we created for you.
Mm-hmm.
Use this route with a map and go there. You will be safe, and we will enter and conduct our offensive against the Hamas terrorists in that area. That was communicated via phone calls by Israelis that speak Arabic to the Palestinian people themselves. It was communicated by throwing leaflets at these neighborhoods with maps and with all the locations and what the IDF plans to do. And it was communicated by sending text messages, social media, all in Arabic that they can understand and go.
Mm-hmm.
What Hamas did is they opened fire against their own people, trying to prevent them from leaving these neighborhoods because they want the death toll of their own people, the Palestinian people, to be as high as possible in order for Israel to look bad in the international media and then being forced to stop the fighting against Hamas. So
Right.
you understand the
Yes.
situation and how complex it is?
Yeah.
And we, as Israel, we are forced to fight a terrorist organization and letting them know where we're going to attack next.
Right.
Because we care about their own people more than they care about us. And these are not just innocent people. The
Mhm.
Palestinian people, the majority of them, still will vote Hamas to be their leaders in the Gaza Strip, still vote for an October 7th terrorist attack against Israel. These are people that have been brainwashed for more than 20 years to hate Jews and Israel.
Mhm.
This is what we're dealing with, but still, Israel cares about them more than their own leadership, which is Hamas. And these leaders are living in five-star hotels in Qatar, in Turkey, and other places around the world, sending their kids to luxury schools with the money that is supposed to go for feeding the poor Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. So
Mm.
this is what we're dealing with. And to say it honestly, it's very hard for these Palestinian people to get out of this loop because nobody wants to accept them in their countries. So even if they can leave the Gaza Strip, it's very hard for them to find a place to stay. Because the Palestinian people, for generations, all they created for the nations that hosted them was terrorism
Yeah.
and this mentality of victimization and not produced anything positive and good.
Right. Yeah. And if that's their education and they know, like, to kill the Jew, talk about if they have a suicide mission. That's like part of that's a good way to die, right?
Yeah, so this mentality, the radical Islam or the Palestinian mentality, and also that is in the Palestinian Authority and also by Hamas. If one of your family members is killed because of an attempt to carry out a terrorist attack and murder Israelis or Jews, his family will get money for the rest of their lives. And his pictures will be shown in houses, in schools, as if he's a soccer star or a football star, So the
Wow.
kids, like I would say American kids, they grow up wanting to be football players or basketball players.
Mhm.
And the Palestinian kids grow up wanting to be terrorists,
Mhm.
wanting to be suicide bombers. That's like the highest of the food chain of like their expectation as they grow up, is to be a terrorist and kill Israelis and Jews.
Yeah.
And this is a very, very tough situation to get out of. You need like a whole generation or 2 generations of good education
Yeah.
without this anti-Israel hatred, demonic education that teaches the kids that they need to be martyrs or
Mhm.
to sacrifice their lives to kill Israelis or Westerners or Christians or anybody else
Right.
that's anti-Islam.
Gays, lesbians, all of it, right? Like they don't agree with that.
Yeah, exactly.
But we have here in America, in the universities, people saying free Palestine, and they are protesting, not even knowing what they're actually voting for.
Yeah, they don't know what Hamas stands for. They don't know what the majority of the Palestinians stand for. Like one of the most, weird groups that I have seen in this war are like Queers for Palestine.
Yeah.
you know, which doesn't make any kind of sense because in the Middle East, the only country that allows a gay parade is Israel. The only place that gays can be free in is in Tel Aviv and in Israel when they're marching their parade. It's one of the world's most gay-friendly cities around the world. But if these gay people will go to the Gaza Strip, they would be the first one to be pushed off of a building.
Yeah.
And that's like the easiest way out for them out of that situation because Hamas does not tolerate any kind of that
Right.
behavior or any kind of that things that they are fighting for. So it just makes me laugh to think that they are uniting with a terrorist, radical Muslim organization that doesn't allow women to walk like you do here with your hair showing, you know. It's you have to cover your whole face. This is the situation in the Gaza Strip. This is not a liberal place to be in.
Right.
So,
Right.
but again, this is a spiritual war, and everybody's uniting against Israel.
Yeah.
Against God, basically.
Against God. So just, okay, so before this happened, before the attack on Israel on October 7th, 2023, the Gaza Strip was Palestinian, under Palestinian authority. It's
No, under Hamas.
under Hamas, sorry, with
only
Palestinians living there.
Palestinians. Only Palestinians
Only
living.
because Israel opened up the border freely for them to come and work over the border, correct? But you could not go into Gaza. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah. So Palestinians would come to work in Israel. Also in my community where I live, when before October 7 took place. So they need to have like a work permit and they come and work legally, get paid by Israelis. They worked in multiple areas, also in the communities surrounding the Gaza Strip, which on October 7th, they then entered and murdered these people that used to work for them for some of them 30 years. So this is like how rooted this hatred is. And no Israeli went into the Gaza Strip to work for Palestinians because it's a danger to his life.
Right.
Israelis could not go into Gaza or they would be kidnapped or murdered. Up until today,
So
nothing changed.
So you have someone that's working for you for 30 years. What happens? Like, is there, I've heard in America that we had our borders open, 15 million people or more crossed over the border. We have states that are really turning toward Muslim communities, taking over the whole city, the county, all of it. And when we have that, like, is there like a war cry or something? I forget what it's called. Something that they say, and then they attack. Like they'll live peacefully. They'll mingle with one another. They'll be part of the families in many instances. What would make someone like that person, the gardener, to shoot, Israeli soldiers?
Well, it can be multiple things. He might be a member of the Hamas terrorist organization, and that's their long-term plan. Something that we in the West don't understand is that these people are planning like 3, 4, 5 generations in advance. They don't think like us within like a 4-year presidential term.
Okay.
They're thinking the long game. And that's why we see the Muslim Brotherhood, which is one of the main founders of Hamas, investing in university campuses in the United States of America, investing in politicians in the United States of America, in Europe, in order to take control of the system from within. And this is what happened also here. We saw that gardeners and people that had work permits were basically spying on the Israeli communities in the Gaza area, the Israeli communities on the border between Israel and the Gaza Strip. And they went down to the level of knowing.
Ever felt torn between your conscience and your job? You're not alone. It's time for nurses to rise, to lead with integrity, grit, and faith. Earn CEUs that teach you how to stand firm in truth and advocate without fear at righteousrn.com. That's righteousrn.com. Protect your license, your integrity, and your peace.
where this community has its guns, where this community has its
Oh,
kindergarten, where are the kids going to be at that hour, at that day, when, like, where is the closest military base to that community? So they had intel before this attack took place. It wasn't just a random
right.
infiltration.
Yeah. And then so the attack, I went there and visited the Nova Festival. The Nova Festival was basically like a big party that people came out to. They camped out there, and then Hamas came by land, by air, and killed what, 1,200 people? Was it? Or
No,
four?
1,200 people in all of the Gaza area.
All
And
right.
that party was like more than 300 people,
Mm,
maybe 356, something like that.
mhm.
And these are young adults between 18 and 30. They
Mhm.
came for a peace festival.
Mm.
Most of them were, just wanting to dance, have a good time,
Yeah.
and spend a few days in the nature.
And this is why it was, I think, so personal for many people here. You say Israel is a small community. Many people knew those people that were there at the festival.
Everybody knows everybody in Israel. Like I have somebody that I know and works with me who was kidnapped from the Nova Music Festival. And he was just released a few months ago,
Mm,
back to Israel, back to his wife and his daughter. And Israel is a small country, 10 million people, we're the size of New Jersey.
mm,
Just to explain, the Gaza Strip, the whole Gaza Strip is the size of Las Vegas. That's it.
mm,
All this talk about, and it's just the size of Las Vegas. It's tiny.
yeah.
And New Jersey is the size of Israel. You can drive from one side to the other within like 2 hours, and then north to south within 8 hours. That's
Okay.
what it's all about.
Yeah, small. So how has it been? I mean, now that you feel, we were talking earlier, and I was like, oh, there's some PTSD maybe that's happening, and it was like, yeah, but there is no post yet because we're still
Yeah.
waiting.
Yeah, there's no time to think about what happened because we are still fighting for our lives. Nothing changed.
Mm-hmm.
We still have the remains of one hostage in the Gaza Strip. Hamas is still threatening us with rockets, with missiles, still attacks our troops every single day. We still have IDF soldiers aged 18 or 20 that lose their lives every almost day. And then in the north, Hezbollah, another terrorist group, is regrouping and carrying out more attacks against our forces. Iran is threatening to carry out more ballistic rocket attack against us.
Mm.
And the Houthis in Yemen also want to launch attacks, rockets against merchant ships that are belonging to Israel or just in general,
Yeah,
So we don't have time for post-trauma. We're still in the
it.
trauma.
Right.
So, but it will have an effect because my kids went to a bomb shelter 3 times every week for 2 years.
Yep.
So
Right.
it has a big effect, of course.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this. We're very connected. You are a Jew that believes in Jesus. They call it messianic. There's not very many people out here that are. But for me, growing up in the church, I was always taught to pray for Israel and to recognize the signs of the times. I am a believer that believes in end time prophecy. I believe that Yeshua will return to the Mount of Olives, set up his kingdom. I believe that there will be a temple built and the Antichrist will come and set it, they call it the abomination of desolation. And then Armageddon will happen. I mean, this is where it'll happen, right? And for me, as a believer, I was a whistleblower, but the way that the Lord gave me the discernment to know what was going to happen with COVID is the same that I feel with the Jewish people in the land of Israel. And that's why I'm here and that's why I'm talking about it, because it is very biblical. So what would you say, having said all that, to the people out there that is saying that the Jews that are living here now are not the Jews of the Bible?
Well, first of all, I would say read your Bible and learn some history because the Jewish people and the people of Israel were scattered all across the nations. And the plan of the enemy was to destroy these people, destroy this language, the language that we speak, Hebrew, which is the same language that Jesus spoke back then. And after 2,000 years of being scattered all across the nations, God brought us back in 1948 to the modern state of Israel. Same people, same language, same belief in the Bible, and same purpose, same promises that God gave Abram exist and still need to be fulfilled with us here, being the people of Israel. So it's just fulfillment of God's promises.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to dispute that, you can, but you can try whatever you want, but you need to really try very hard not to see God's faithfulness.
Right.
And like same name, same language, same culture, same people coming back from multiple nations to this same geographical location, which is Israel with the capital of Jerusalem. Let me ask you, what's harder to do? What's harder to do? Is it to pick up a rock from one place, put it somewhere else, and then replacing it at the exact same location? One rock, not so hard. But what happens if you take your hand filled with sand, throw it to the sky, and then try to collect all these pieces and put them at exactly where they were before?
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Right.
That's the miracle of the rebirth of the state of Israel. And only God can make such a miracle happen.
That's right.
After 2,000 years.
After 2,000 years. And in the Bible, it does say that that Israel will be a nation.
Soon we're going to take you to
that and that the nation will be reborn in a day. And it was literally,
Yeah.
literally. So, okay, you mentioned recently that President Trump might move to a plan B and that the U.S. is putting pressure on Israel. From what you understand, what is plan B, practically speaking, and what kind of pressure is Israel feeling from its allies right now?
So, first of all, Plan A was not fulfilled yet. Like Phase A of the ceasefire agreement meant returning all the hostages, deceased and alive, within 72 hours. Well, since then, we had a few months passing, and there is still the remain of one deceased hostage in the Gaza Strip that Hamas is taking its time delivering it to the family members back in Israel. So that's a big, big issue for Israel because they didn't fulfill the first stage of this deal. And then the majority of Phase B is to dismantle Hamas of its weapons, okay, to bring an international force into the Gaza Strip that is composed out of multiple soldiers from different Arab nations around the world, like Indonesia, and Turkey wants to be part of that, and other nations. And then there will be the reconstruction period that will start. This is like many years of reconstruction needed in the Gaza Strip. And then there is the turning Gaza into a high-tech hub with AI technology, with a seaport, with an airport, with an option to be an economic prosperity place for the world and to have a future for the Palestinian people. But all of this will only happen if Hamas, a terrorist organization, will disarm of its weapons and will give up its control of the people, which they clearly say that they will never do that.
Right.
Okay, even after signing the peace agreement. So this is where we're at. Israel will not move on to the stage B before Hamas give up their weapons and before they return the remains of the hostage.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is like the major issue between moving to stage B. But Trump and his administration, they want to see and show the world that there is success. So they want to pressure Israel to move to stage B without Hamas being dismantled, without the remains of the hostage back with his family in Israel, which is a big, very big issue for us.
That a huge issue. I mean, and Hamas is it's not just, okay, there's, say, 1 million of them, right? Let's kill them all and it's gone. It's an ideology that has been bred for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So how do you destroy something like that? Pray.
So first of all, it's a spiritual war you need to play, but you need to educate the Palestinian people. But it will be very hard to do that to this generation. It will be to the next generation, maybe to the one after that, to educate them for coexistence, for living side by side with the people of Israel. Not to murder us is the ultimate goal, to have a future of cooperation. And that's why it's so hard. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that will be like a solution, but Trump suggested it before, but that's also a very hard issue, is like to relocate the Palestinian people to different places around the world so that they can have a future without Hamas dictating their lives and terrorism moving every step of their intention and future.
Right. I mean, it's kind of like when, Hitler, when Hitler and was dismantled, I guess they took all of the Nazis and put them in really key areas, like in the United States and everywhere. I mean, people don't want those kind of ideologies and belief systems. So it really is complicated. I know you said when we talked that this is something you've grown up with. Right? You have lived amongst the Palestinians in schools and everything, worked together, or, went to school together. And you would talk to me about, a bus that got blown up, a school bus. Like, talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, so just to explain the hatred, it's been since I was born. I mean, in the early ages when I was, I don't know, 15, going to school on a school bus. It was before Israel built like the security fence between us and some Palestinian villages that were hostile to Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, everything was open. There was like no difference between the Palestinian villages and the Israeli villages. And what happened back then was multiple suicide bombing attacks on school buses. Just buses that I went on every day to go to school exploded.
Mm-hmm.
I had classmates that lost their lives in these explosions of terrorism in the buses. Also, pizza places exploded in the middle of town where you went. It was tough, and that was the mentality that we had to live with and grow up with. Since then, Israel built a security fence, and these suicide bombers went down significantly. Palestinians are still trying to carry out ramming attacks, stabbing attacks, and shooting attacks against Israelis, but it's a lot less because we are able to defend ourselves better.
So, Israelis as a people, you guys are really strong. You have a lot. You have a lot of enemies around you. Now we have in America a massive homeless problem, massive amount of drug addicts on the street, but murders still happening, on the trains and in odd, in areas that you would not expect. And that is really commonplace. Now, here as a tourist walking around, I didn't feel any sense of fear.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see homeless people. And I went all over. I didn't see any drug addicts walking around on the street. And so what would you say to the people around the world listening about coming and visiting Israel? Because I know tourism is a big part of your economy.
But I would say what you said is the exact same thing. It's the best thing to say. It's like you feel safe as a tourist here in Israel. Israel is very, very good in defending itself. And I would say now is the best time to come to Israel because we have proven again and again that we have the best defensive systems.
Yeah.
If it's against rockets, we have won against most of the enemies that launch attacks against us. Hamas has been defeated. It's not been destroyed, but it's defeated significantly. Hezbollah, same thing. Iran, same thing. So Israel is now safer than ever because we've defeated our enemies. They're still there. They're still trying to regroup and launch attacks against us. But when you walk in Jerusalem, you cannot feel that that a war took place here. Restaurants are packed with people.
Right.
Shopping centers.
Yeah, tour buses. I see tour buses.
Yeah, my kids are now like they're in the streets and no fear. Like
yeah,
it's safe in that aspect. It's really safe for sure.
All right. And let's close this out. A lot of my listeners are believers in Yeshua and they love Israel. Okay.
Good.
Yes. But they don't always get to hear from Israeli believers in Yeshua. Would you share a bit about your own story and how you came to faith in Yeshua and how following him has shaped your walk through all of this?
Okay. Yeah, sure. Definitely. So in Israel, the number of Jews who believe in Jesus is very small. I mean, you have like, it's what, 0.001% of the population. So growing up, I was always the only follower of Jesus in my school, the only follower of Jesus in my basketball team. And then joining the army, my mother had one prayer. I mean, every Jewish mama has a prayer that their kids will be safe and God will protect them when they join the IDF, the army, and bring them back to Earth safely. She had another prayer. She prayed that I will have at least one follower of Jesus with me in the army base. And I thought, there's no chance because I was always alone. What are the chances of me having another friend that also follows Jesus in my base? But she was stubborn, and she was stubborn in her prayers with God. And first week after I joined, she calls me. She says, "So, do you have someone who's a believer in Jesus in your base?" And I said, "No, no, mom. Of course not. We don't have." I said, "Wait, I'll keep praying." Okay. Next week, same thing. Still nobody. And then, boot camp starts. You don't get new people. Usually people leave because they're
Right.
incapable or stuff like that. But 3 weeks go by, and I'm guarding in the middle of the barracks in the middle of the night. And I see one of my friends from the youth camps of followers of Jesus in Israel. And I said, "What are you doing here?" He says, "I was just transferred here." And what I love about God is that when he makes a miracle, he makes sure that you know it's him. Because he was placed, the army is a big place. And out of all the divisions and all the companies and all the platoons, he was placed in my division, in my platoon, in my room, in the bunk bed above me that was empty. So that's an answer to a mother's prayer for you. And I would say that was kind of my turning point in following Jesus. And in the IDF, I was not afraid of my faith, not ashamed of it. And very fast, I became the only believer of Jesus. And in Israel, you can be the only person that people around you ever knew that believes in Jesus.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a big responsibility.
It is. It is.
But God blessed me. And then fast forward in this war, I mean, I've been inside the Gaza Strip. It's a scary place. And when I was called into Gaza, I stopped my car and I said, "God, if this is from you, please give me peace and let me be happy as I am entering this very dangerous place." And he did. I was in Gaza. I was smiling. I was not afraid. And this is the most terrible place on earth. Terror tunnels everywhere you step, bombs, booby traps, snipers from rooftops. And God was with me. And he used me also not just to create the news and to share what's happening in Israel. He used me also to share and to witness to my fellow soldiers that they're not alone, that there are millions of Bible-believing Christians that are praying for them.
Yeah.
And they didn't know that. They thought that the whole world is against us because that's what you saw in the main news outlets and everywhere.
Yeah.
So God worked, he's working. I also saw multiple miracles of rockets not exploding, landing next to an IDF soldier unit.
Wow.
And soldiers sleeping where they shouldn't have slept, and then a tank almost running over them. Like all of these stuff that when you have like such a mess as war and a big army mobilizing, I've seen so many miracles happening that our troops did not lose their lives.
Wow. Okay, closing up, last question. I have been able to testify to 2 Jews while I was here. One on the tour group with the Israeli Ministry of Tourism, and another one just last night at the hostel. Sat there and talked with him for 2.5 hours. And at the end of it, both of them basically said, I've never met a Christian like you. You changed the way I look at the Lord. So as, a believer and knowing what the Jews, they know that the Christians love them, but how best could a Christian witness to a Jew?
Well, I would say the best thing would be, first of all, to be a good example of Jesus. So you need to be loving, caring to everybody around you, you know. And what I like to say is that nobody can convince anybody to believe in Jesus, to believe in God.
Yeah.
It has to be a supernatural intervention. Like God need to reveal himself
Yeah.
to a person for that person to believe in God. It's the only way. But God opens doors. It gives us opportunities to share stories, to share faithfulness of God, to be kind to other people. And then these people will ask you, why are you doing this? Why are you in Israel now? Why did you come to Israel now during the war?
Yeah.
And it's because we want to stand with the Jewish people, because God is faithful to you, and because of that, he's faithful to each and every one of us around the world. God doesn't change. God doesn't change his promises.
Right.
I mean, his promises are forever.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to serve a God that changes his mind every other day or every other generation.
Yeah.
And Israel is proof that God is faithful, is proof that God is performing biblical level miracles today, modern days, which is also cool because it means that God is doing amazing things now, and not just in the time of Moses in the Bible.
Right.
Every day now. The fact that Israel still exists is a miracle.
Yeah.
And all of us around the world need to look at Israel and be encouraged that our God is faithful.
Yeah.
And pray for the Jewish people, for God to reveal himself to them.
Yeah.
And then to show love. I mean, you can't force anybody to believe in anything that they do not want. And also, it's not our job to force or to convince. You can't debate a Jew into believing in Jesus.
No.
But you can love him, unconditionally,
Yeah.
to the fact that it says, why do these Christians love me so much? I don't get it. I mean, I didn't do anything good for them,
Yeah.
but they still love me. So it must be something from God. This war taught us that there is supernatural hate of Israel, but there's also supernatural love that only comes from God.
Yeah.
And if we show the people of Israel this love, that's where God can act in their hearts.
That's great. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for listening to Nurses Out Loud. Nurses are called by our code of ethics to keep learning, do the research, and lead with moral courage and integrity, especially as healthcare changes. Keep doing the next right thing, especially when it's hard. If this show resonated with you, please like, share, and follow. It boosts us up in the algorithm so more people can find us. Until next time, friends, be safe, be well, and God bless. And if this episode offers continuing education credit, check the show notes for the learning objectives, disclosures, and exactly how to earn your certificate.